Today, I have Dr. Richard Richter from New York here with us. He's a good friend who's been teaching for POS since about the mid-2000s, I believe. So quite a bit of history. So he does a lot of lasers, does a lot of TMD, has a very nice multidisciplinary practice in the Hamptons, and I think brings a lot of expertise to the table. So welcome, Richard.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for coming out. So Richard, first of all, tell me a little bit how you got into doing ortho.
Well, okay, that's an interesting story. There was actually an orthodontist in the area who was competing for my business. So he invited me to lunch. I brought 2 cases with me, and one was a simple expansion case and the other a molar uprighting case.
Okay.
And I showed him the cases and he looked at me, he said, Richard, he said, you should be doing this. Go learn some ortho. This is not what I want you to send me.
So an orthodontist told you this?
So an orthodontist
that's
told
maybe
me
the first
this.
time I've heard a story like this one.
Uh-huh.
All right.
So I took what he said to heart and I decided, let me start to search out and learn ortho.
Nice, that's an honest guy. And how did you pick POS?
Okay, so that's an adventure. I took a few of these weekend courses in ortho, and I left realizing I didn't learn ortho. And then Invisalign came knocking on my door when they first opened it up to GPs back then. And I took the Invisalign program and I realized I didn't learn any ortho. So then I decided no more quick fix, and I came across POS, and there was another big program at the time too. I ordered the syllabus for both. I wanted the longest, most comprehensive program I could find.
Nice.
That was POS.
Yeah, I laugh. I see a lot of instructors and a lot of POS students I've heard say the same thing of, I didn't want to take a shortcut because I knew it would get me in trouble. Yeah. So give me the most comprehensive one, give me the one that teaches me everything I need to know so I know what I'm doing. Do you still do Invisalign?
Invisalign, I still do.
Or aligners. I'll leave it as aligners.
Yes, I do clear aligners in a small percentage of cases. And like I tell all the doctors that attend the program who are doing Invisalign, I said Invisalign is just a tool. It's like one of your instruments in your bag. You need the ortho knowledge to know when you can use it and when you can't use it. Right. And a lot of doctors take these programs thinking that's the end all, and they get into trouble.
So there's a lot of orthodontic techniques that you can use, that in the right context make sense. But the tricky part, in your opinion, or let me interpret this for you, is knowing which cases those work in case selection and knowing the limitations of each one of your tools. Exactly. And making sure you have something in your toolbox long term, or if it doesn't work out the best way, you can get yourself out of that mess.
Yeah, and you need enough knowledge to know which tool not to take out of the bag. So, yeah.
So tell me a little bit about your practice.
Okay, it's a comprehensive practice, meaning we try and do everything. It's like a total kind of care philosophy, including, of course, orthodontics, and as you know, a lot of TMJ dysfunction cases. Okay. We do sleep apnea appliance fabrication. Okay. Perio, laser care, we do everything.
Right, I know you're a big proponent of kind of that comprehensive care model of we're gonna treat the patient and knowing, I know you're also a big CE junkie where you've taken almost every CE course you can think of and
taken a lot, yeah.
So that you do offer your patients all kinds of services and can plan that way as well.
Yes.
Tell me more about your philosophy, why you think that's so important.
Well, it's kind of what I teach in the intro seminars, why I want the doctors to take the POS program is you can't, especially in today's day and age, but I feel like it's always been true, you can't have a patient walk in the door and not have a periodontal, an endo, a pros, implant, ortho, TMD, everything organized into one treatment plan for them. If you miss one of those steps, you can sink the ship.
Right. And so having that perspective, one of the advantages of a GP is having that perspective where you can step back and see the big picture and make sure every piece of that case is being considered, whether or not you're doing it or not, in order to give the patient the best treatment.
Correct.
And that's kind of the role, in your opinion, of a GP versus a specialist and how the system is supposed to work.
Yeah, I kind of like to look at the GP as the super specialist because we have to know everything. Even if we are going to refer a certain section out, you have to have enough knowledge to plan it.
So you're a big time TMJ guy.
Yeah, I've been doing it a long time.
You're teaching a TMJ class coming up in New York, I believe.
Yeah,
so tell me a little bit about that class.
The class is going to combine both TMJ management along with sleep apnea treatment.
Okay.
And the thing that I want the doctors to be able to do is to go home and immediately start to treat both TMD and sleep apnea.
Okay.
And I want them to understand that you can't do one without the other.
Right.
There's a lot of sleep apnea patients that might be referred your way from a sleep specialist or a pulmonologist, and you have to know enough about TMD to recognize that you have to treat that also. Otherwise, you fit them with the appliance, you make them worse, and then it ends up in a desk drawer. Likewise, you have a lot of TMD patients who come into you, and many of them also have sleep apnea. So you have to, the door swings both ways. You need to know everything, or rather enough about each treatment modality to understand that they're interconnected.
Correct. So I assume in your class you're going to be talking a lot about diagnosis, since I know you.
Absolutely.
And you're a diagnosis guy, where your philosophy's always been, if I know what's happening before I start, I'm going to be better prepared and have less surprises. So you'll talk the diagnosis of both sleep apnea and TMJ, as well as the different treatment options, and probably, I'd imagine, review of almost all the treatment options so that the person is understanding what's possible.
Correct, yes.
And then are you going to go through all the different appliances and give recommendations on appliances?
Yeah, we're going to cover a lot of different appliance types, and when each appliance would be more beneficial depending on the case type that comes in.
Okay. Are you going to have time for any of the multidisciplinary of how TMJ fits with ortho or any of those kind of things too?
Absolutely. Ortho ties into everything that I do, so you can rest assured that's going to be part of the treatment
Can you imagine doing dentistry without ortho?
No, I can't. Actually, I can't.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, I've always said, even if you don't do the ortho yourself, you know, that hole in your education is so big, because in a multidisciplinary practice, ortho is a foundation piece to every case.
Miles, once I took the POS program myself, I equated to someone who's colorblind, all of a sudden being able to see color. That's the type of blinders we have on regarding our orthodontic education.
I can imagine.
It has to be there.
Long term, where do you see this? Where do you see the profession going? Or even in the short term? I mean, I know you're very opinionated because you have a lot of experience. You've seen a lot of change in the industry, and you've always been very cutting edge. Where you know, I think one of the things that, you know, I remember you taught a class many years ago about technology, and you were one of the guys that went through and looked at every piece of technology, every CEREC machine, every, you know, any new thing that came out. You were the early adapter guy that jumped in there, and I'm going to buy this, and I'm going to see it, and let's see what happens. And so I think you have an interesting perspective of what's possible in the future and where you see things going.
Yeah, right now I see the future going, everything seems to be internet and cell phones and streaming and mobile sites. And I see a lot of the young doctors are so geared towards this. I think that's where a lot of our education is going to begin to at least drift over in part to, which is why SmileStream is you know, a wonderful tool, and IAT is a great educational option for the doctors. So you have the best of all worlds available for you. But I definitely see the whole profession gearing up more towards the computerized end, tech-wise, clinically, and educationally.
Your daughter is a dentist.
Yes.
She's currently taking POS, or maybe, I think she's currently in the class.
She's currently in the class. She's currently on maternity leave also.
With your experience with her, you know, as on the different scale of your professional career, what advice have you given to her, and I guess in essence to young dentists starting out today? Because she's a new dentist that's coming into the profession, who has the advantage of having a father that's been through it all, and can guide her the right way. And so I know you've thought about, okay, what advice would I give my daughter as a new dentist coming into the profession? How do I set myself up to be successful in the future?
I would have to say that, again, we talk about the comprehensive care part. And when I started out as a dentist, I knew nothing about ortho, for example. There was really very little out there in terms of TMD education. I actually got started in that years ago because my sister suffered with it miserably when I was in dental school.
Yep.
So I had to learn as much as I could about it. And I think that the young dentists coming out of dental school today, they have an opportunity, especially with access to the internet-assisted training. Learn as much as you can about all the specialties, because you can't treatment plan properly unless you're educated in all the specialties.
Makes perfect sense to me. Thank you so much.
Thank you,
That's all
Miles.
the questions. I
Pleasure.
really appreciate you coming out.
Thank you for having me.
And look for more interviews coming up.